All right, you know from the title that this is not your run-of-the-mill remedies hypothetical, but I think it's a really valuable one to take a look at. First thing I notice is that it's very, very short. There are not a lot of facts to analyze here. The call is what remedies, if any, does Cars have against two people. First call against Brown. Second call against Jones. All right, pure remedies. How hard could this be? Now we see that a woman who identified herself as Smith brought an auto into Carson's auto repair shop for repairs. So when I see that, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, we have a service contract here, but wait a minute, Smith is not one of the defendants. So what's going on here? Cars completed the repairs for $5,000, which is a fair price for the work done and the parts and materials supplied. The day the repair work was completed, police informed Cars that the auto had been stolen by Smith. Okay, so Smith did not have title to this car, and that Brown was the owner. Brown is call 1. Brown holds title to this car. Police took possession of the auto and returned it to Brown. So at this point, Brown has not only title but also possession. Cars has not been paid, and Smith has disappeared. Brown did not have insurance on the auto. A week after recovering the auto, Brown sold it and transferred title to Jones for $8,000. The fair market value of the auto in its repaired condition. So Brown sold it. Jones bought it for fair market value. So Jones is a BFP. He's a bona fide purchaser for value. And it looks like he has no notice of any kind of wrongdoing. Brown deposited the $8,000 in his bank account, bringing the balance in the account to $22,000. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, he commingled funds here. A week after making the deposit, Brown withdrew $20,000 and lost it all gambling. Okay, he added $8,000 to his bank account. Now he takes $20,000 out, leaving $2,000 in the account. He lost the whole $20,000 gambling. So at this point, the account has $2,000 in it. One day later, Brown won $1,000 in the state lottery and deposited that amount into his bank account. So the bank account has $3,000 in it. No other changes in the account have taken place. All right, so what is going on? What do I do with those facts? Well, first, I realized that Jones is the BFP in call 2. Call 2 is going to be my easy call. It's going to take very little of my time because Jones is a bona fide purchaser for value. And that means that there are no equitable remedies available against Jones because he's a bona fide purchaser. He had no contract with Cars. He did not commit a tort against Cars, and he bought for valuable consideration. He's a BFP. There are no equitable remedies available. Cars is out of luck against Jones. What about Brown? Well, they gave me a lot of facts about amounts in a bank account. And anytime a hypothetical does that, gives you changing amounts in a bank account, they want you to use tracing rules and consider a constructive trust or an equitable lien. So I think that is the main thing I'm going to need to analyze in call 1. But how do I get there? How do I get to constructive trust and equitable lien? I can't do that through contract because there was no contract between Brown and Cars. Brown didn't commit any tort against Cars. No intentional tort, no other kind of tort that I can see. So what do? Well, I don't panic. I mean, at the very least on the bar exam, if my mind freezes and I can't figure out what I need to do, I write up constructive trust and equitable lien. Brown was the owner. He took funds that he got for that car and he kept them. He had to know that the car was worth more once it was recovered than it had been when it was stolen, that it had been repaired, that it had been worked on somehow. And so it would be unjust for him to keep those funds. So I want to think about an unjust enrichment theory, an equitable restitution theory. And that's what I want to write up in call 1. As an equitable restitution, I can ask for a constructive trust against Brown's bank account. The problem is that there's only $3,000 in it. Cars did $5,000 worth of repairs. So a constructive trust is not going to get me a full remedy. An equitable lien would be a better choice because an equitable lien will allow Cars to get a deficiency judgment against that bank account from Brown. So I need to know the elements of constructive trust. I need to know the elements of equitable lien. I also probably would get more points if I show the grader that I know what the various kinds of tracing rules are under constructive trust. Because different jurisdictions use different kinds of tracing rules. And your outline, your bar outline, should contain at least a brief summary of some of those different kinds of tracing rules. And you could apply those if you have time as you write this up. The key thing here is this constructive trust equitable lien idea. Sometimes bar examiners put in a call that says something like what remedies under trust theories are available. When they do that, you don't want to just think about a trust in probate law. You want to think about constructive trust and equitable lien. That's what was going on in this one. And it really stunned bar candidates when this one came out. It would be a mistake to analyze the regular contract remedies or tort remedies. You needed to establish that there was no contract and no tort here between Brown and Cars, but then leave that and go to unjust enrichment, equitable restitution, quasi-contract, whatever you want to call this, you would have gotten points. I guess what I want to say about this hypothetical is that it's a good example of what I always tell bar candidates. Don't panic, and if this is a 1-hour essay, spend no more than 1 hour on it. 1 hour, 1 essay. To do that, to hold yourself to the right timing, you really have to mentally allocate your time and make yourself stick to it. So I said, when I realized that Jones was a BFP, that call was going to be very short. And yeah, I meant that. It takes me 15 minutes to work through a hypothetical and spot the issues and calm myself down and think about what I need to write up for what call. So I have 45 minutes at most in a 1-hour essay. So I look at those calls, I look at what I need to analyze in those 2 calls, and I take the extra 30 seconds before I start writing to mentally allocate my time. If I've got 45 minutes, I may need 10 or 15 minutes for call 2, but that's all. And all the rest of the time is going to be for call 1. If you can do that kind of mental planning, it will really help you stick to the time you've got.